Greetings of grace and welcome to worship at Yorkville Congregational United Church of Christ, where it is a joy, a delight, a thrill, a wonder to be worshiping with you this morning. And we are so glad that you have chosen to worship with us today, whether you're worshiping at home or here in the sanctuary. Please worship as the Spirit inspires you. Sing and dance and laugh and play and pray and cry and know that we are together in the Spirit of God. Would you rise as you are able for the call to worship?
God has birthed us in life, truth, hope, faith, and love. God has led us into light, made rugged places plain, blessed us with the Holy Spirit, and has enabled us to be God's children.
Let us be doers of God's word, and not merely hearers.
God is love, and God loves us beyond our ability to understand. In God's love, God became us, experienced our pain and joy, healed us, taught us, loved us. God reveals to us purpose in our life. God desires us to be participants in God's mission in the world. Please join me in the prayer of praise and adoration. Creator God, you have loved us passionately into being. We join today seeking your presence and to know we are loved. Enter our hearts that we may find your loving gaze and see ourselves reflected there as you see us. Let us love for you, reflect the mirror, your perfect love as we gather as your beloved community. Amen. And now we can do the hymn, Lord, I lift your name on high.
All right, I'd invite you to lift your voices. All right, here we go. Lord, I lift your name on high. Whoops, hold up. There you go, ready. All right, here we go. Let's worship together, shall we? Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the cross, my debt to pay, from the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. All right, we're going to do that all again. Here we go. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the cross, my debt to pay, from the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the cross, my debt to pay, from the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I lift your name on high.
For the young and the young at heart, Lucy started first grade. And they thought it was going to go very well, but Lucy was anxious and excited and excitable and wanted to get into first grade and do everything that she possibly could. And she was so grateful to be in first grade. And then it came time to go to lunch. And the kids who had their lunch bags grabbed their lunch bags. The other kids got ready. And they all got into a line. And what did they do? They marched down the hallway. But Lucy barged her way through all of the other boys and girls and got right to the front of the line and said, I want to be first. And the teacher said, Lucy, we don't push the other boys and girls. Come on back to the back of the line. And you stand here. I don't want to, said Lucy. And as they marched down the hall, Lucy barged her way through all of the other boys and girls. She got to the front of the line, and the teacher said, Lucy, come with me. Put her at the back of the line. And all the children ate their lunch, and they went back to the classroom. The next day, they all got in the line, and Lucy was a little closer to the front. And as soon as they started to move, what did Lucy do? Threw out her elbows and barged her way up to the front. And the teacher said, Lucy, put her in the back of the line. Said, Lucy, you have to wait your turn. It's okay to be happy and excited. Everybody loves lunch. Everybody loves to go to lunch. It's such a wonderful time. But you have to be patient, and you have to work harder at this. Lucy said, okay, I'll try. And they got back in line, and they started moving along, and Lucy pushed her way up about halfway. And then she ran to the front and stood there ready to, with her lunch bag, to get to the front of the line. The teacher said, now, Lucy, you told me you were going to try. She said, I know I told you I was going to try, but I just thought it was hard. The teacher said, Lucy, I really need you to try. She said, okay, I'll try. I'll do better tomorrow, I promise. So she came back. And the next day, Lucy got in the back of the line, was trying so hard, and the teacher said, Lucy, are we going to do it today? Are you going to stay in the line at the back? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. As soon as they started to move, Lucy barged her way all the way to the front. And the teacher went, oh. Lucy. Took her to the back and said, Lucy, you told me that you were going to do this. I asked you, and you said yes. She said, I know. I just get so excited for lunch. The next day, the teacher was ready. And the teacher said, Lucy, there's an old saying. It says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Are you going to barge your way through the line? And she said, no. You're going to stay here at the back of the line? Yes. The teacher said, good. And the teacher took out a big old note. And on it she had written yes and no. And she said, Lucy, are you going to push your way through the line? No. And the teacher pointed to no. And are you going to stay in the line? She said, yes. And so the teacher handed her the note, and Lucy said, okay. And the teacher said, concentrate on the note. Lucy said, okay. And with every step she took, she said, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Until she made her way to the lunchroom. And then the next day, the teacher let her walk at the front of the line because her yes was her yes and her no was her no. And she's quoting Matthew 3. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Thanks be to God. So, announcements for you today. Today, are you excited? I noticed a lot of you are wearing shorts, and if you're at home, put on your shorts and come on down to the church. We have the church picnic today. Great fellowship. They've set out fun games and delicious food and all kinds of things. So immediately following this worship experience, we're all going to go out into the backyard of the church, and we're going to enjoy our church picnic, an all-church picnic, and that counts you and everyone. There's plenty of food. If you didn't bring anything, that's fine. We've got lots of food, plenty of food for everybody. Please be aware. The Buildings and Grounds crew is doing some repairs from some of the water damage that we had with the roof leaks, and if you are inclined, please check the Giving Tree. There are some things there that can help the Buildings and Grounds crew do that, so be sure and check that out. Next Saturday, we need volunteers next Saturday from That's the 4th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're going to be doing Touch a Truck. We're going to be helping the folks out there, and we need volunteers to help with that as well. Coming up on September 7th is the book discussion of They're There. Please contact Amy List if you would like to join in. It's a tremendous book, and Amy does a great job for that. We also want to let you know that next Saturday, we should first let you know that Doug Pierce died on Friday after a long time and some convalescence. He died at home, surrounded by his family peacefully, and we are grateful for that. Next Saturday will be the visitation and memorial service here at the church outside. And the visitation is from 10 until noon with the service at noon, and then there'll be a luncheon to follow. So next Saturday from 10 to noon, a visitation, and then the service at noon. And please do keep Doug and all of his family in your prayers. Are you excited? I am. We have a wonderful young man who's going to come forward. Come on, Benjamin. Come on. And he's going to be playing When the Saints Go Marching In for us on his guitar. You ready, buddy? All right. Here, I got it. Can I help you? It's not going to stay, so I'll just hold it if that's okay. Yeah. All right.
3, 2, 1, go. 1. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, Lord, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in.
Yay, good job. Good job, my friend. Good job. Thank you. Did you want to play another one? Oh, he wants to play another one. Hang on. Hang on. Let me get your microphone sound. An encore.
Yankee Doodle went to town, riding on a pony. Stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni. Yankee Doodle keep it up, Yankee Doodle Danny. Mind the music in the stand with the Rose Bee Handy.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you put your down? Isn't that wonderful? What a joy. What a joy. Thank you, Benjamin. If you are watching and participating at home, please take this time. God of light and life, God of grief and grace, God of patient listening, incline your ear to our prayers. We seek to speak our hearts into your presence and shake our lives to your labors. Hear us and guide us, O God. Assuring God, we seek your heart, your hand, your guidance, your wisdom, your care in uncertain times. Guide us with your assurance. Abide with us as we seek our way through life. Help us have the strength to face the harm in Afghanistan and the hurricane in the Gulf and the march of COVID. Help us be your healing presence of continuous grace. God of healing and hope, you know our every care, and we trust your gracious providence to the Pierce family, to our sister Luann, to Wayne and Dolores, to Mary Ellen and Esther, to all the people facing hurricanes. Abide with us, O God, and comfort us. Help us to be your people of grace. We pray for the search committee of this congregation that they may have unity, strength, spirit, wisdom, fortitude, and fun. Guide them, O God. O Lord, our governor, whose glory is in all the world, we commend this nation to your merciful care, that we may dwell secure in your peace. Grant to the President of the United States, the governor of this state, and to all in authority, wisdom and strength to know and to do your will. Okay, God, we want to be your people. We try and we fail. We listen and we act on human impulse. Forgive us and shape us to be your instruments of grace as we seek to live as the people of Jesus. Hear us, O God, as we pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Will you sing with me? Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, use me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me.
What a blessing and joy is prayer, for it unites us to God in special ways. Thank you to everyone who contributes to the ministries of Yorkville Congregational United Church of Christ. You bring joy and peace and hope and happiness not only to this place, but to many around the world. Please contribute as you are able by placing an offering in the offering box in back, or by placing your gift online through our website. We are always glad to receive those opportunities. And we always want to tell you about a difference that you continue to make. And I was so excited when I came across this ministry of the United Church of Christ that is just beyond needed in our world. It's the UCC Overdose and Drug Use Ministries. And that always sounds a little funny. Ministries have to take shape and form and life. But so essential in our world, because in 2020, over 93,000 people in the United States died of a drug overdose. 93,000 people. And in this next week, throughout the United Church of Christ, there will be congregations who will be praying for and remembering those persons, but also making an impact as we move forward. There are myriad ways that we are able to help people with drug challenges. The first is harm reduction. And the UCC has a harm reduction toolkit that can help us counteract those. The other ways are to stop stigmatizing the community. Those persons who use drugs have challenges in life and don't need our stigmatization of them, but need our love and our embrace and our care. They need hospitality and community and compassion so that they may find new ways of finding hope in our communities. Also to support drug intervention opportunities and ministries. So in the United Church of Christ, the way that you give helps support this ministry of overdose and drug use intervention so that we make a difference to persons who struggle with abuse and addiction in the world. Thanks be to God for this vital and important ministry. Will you join with me, please, in the prayer dedication of gifts and self? Generous God, we thank you for your goodness in our lives. You are a giving God who blesses, and all our lives are blessed by you. O God, we praise and thank you. Amen. Would you stand up?
Today's scripture is from the book of James, chapter 1, verses 17 through 27. Every generous act of giving with every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. In fulfillment of his own purpose, he gave us birth by the word of truth, so that we would become a kind of first fruits of his creatures. You must understand this, my beloved. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, for your anger does not produce God's righteousness. Therefore, rid yourselves of all sordidness and rank growth of wickedness, and welcome with meekness the implanted word that has the power to save your souls. Be doers of the word and not merely hearers who deceive themselves. For if any are hearers of the word and not doers, they are like those who look at themselves in a mirror. For they look at themselves and, on going away, immediately forget what they were like. But those who look into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and persevere, being not hearers who forget, but doers who act, they will be blessed in their doing. If any think they are religious and do not bridle their tongues, but deceive their hearts, their religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to care for orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. Let us hear what the Spirit is saying to the church.
Will you pray with me? May the words of my mouth fertilize your planted seeds, O God. Amen. Probably most of us, if asked to look up the book of James, would have to go to the table of contents. Some of us know it's there toward the back in all of those little letters that come in the back. Some of us call them epistles. And then if you were to learn that it was between Hebrews and 1 Peter, you'd still be looking at the table of contents. It's just not that common of a used book for us. And there was some debate for a long, long time about whether it was written by James, who is the brother of Jesus. Yes, Jesus had brothers. And there is some debate about whether or not it came from that pen, but it doesn't seem likely because it is filled with logic and beautiful Greek rhetoric, and it is a magnificent book. And also it refers to the 12 dispersions, the 12 communities that were cast around Asia Minor and in other areas to receive the gospel of Jesus. There's a little biblical history for you. So it was probably written by a scholar who called it James, may have been named James, I don't know. But then it was attributed to the brother of Jesus to give it a little more authority. There wasn't so much controversy at the time about authorship. And many people put this epistle, this piece of James, in contrast to the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul very, very powerfully writes in Romans and Galatians and Colossians about faith and about grace, and that we are saved by grace, and no matter what we can do, whatever acts we put forward, we cannot earn God's love, because we only receive God's love by grace. Now, I often think of Paul's argument like the parent-child relationship. If children had to earn their parents' love, they would never receive it, because I don't know about you, but I was a difficult child. Goofed up all the time, disobeyed my parents, and all of those pieces. And if it required my actions to receive my parents' love, well, I wouldn't blame them for not giving it. And yet they saw me for my intrinsic value, and they loved me. Yeah? And what a great blessing that is. See, the Apostle Paul teaches us that by faith and grace, not by law, not by doing the things we're supposed to be doing, do we come into contact with God. And Paul argues that apart from grace, we are nothing. We cannot work our way to godliness. And it's such an important message in our meritorious society. where we keep score by the amount of things that we have. Yes? Or the amount of likes that we achieve. My posts get more likes than your posts, therefore I am a better person. Yes? How many friends do you have on Facebook? And as I keep reminding people, unless they will help you move your refrigerator, they're probably not really your friend. Oh, don't tell me that's the only thing you're going to remember from this today. James is often seen in opposition to Paul, that they don't agree, but that's not giving either one enough credit for subtlety, for the way that the world really works. For many of us, the nugget that is in James is this. It's in 2:17. We read from 1:17. Faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. Did you catch that? Faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. It isn't grace or works. It's grace leads to good works. I love you, therefore I will do this. Rather than I will do this so that you love me. Do you catch the difference? Because we love God, we can do no other than love neighbor. Because we love God, we care for our neighbor. Here's something for you. If somebody ever asks you, why do you wear a mask? Have you ever been asked that? I've been asked that a few times. Why are you wearing that? Here it is. Say, because I love God. What in the world are they going to do with that piece of information? I'm often tempted to say, because I love you and my neighbors, but that doesn't mean anything to them. Then they just think you're a holy person. But if you say, because I love God, then they think you're a crazy person. And they'll be right, because I'm crazy enough to love my neighbor because my God loves me. Yeah? And that is what James is talking about. I love God. God loves me. Therefore, I will do gracious acts for you. Our purpose, according to James, is to be people of the light, sharing light with the world. Because I have light, I can't help but share that light with you. Verse 17, every generous act of giving with every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the giver of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. God loves us no matter what else happens in the world. In fulfillment of God's own purpose, God gave us birth by the word of truth so that we would become a kind of, did you catch it? First fruits. We are the first fruits of God's creatures. We're showing the other fruits what it is to be the fruit of God. So the question becomes, do we live as people of light? Or are we hypocrites? How will the world see us? James 1:22 through 25. But be doers of the word, not merely hearers who deceive themselves. For are any hearers of the word but not doers? They are like those who look at themselves in a mirror. For they look at themselves and say, on going away, immediately forget what they are like. We try to push ourselves to the front of the line rather than letting our word be yes and no. But those who look into the perfect law, the law of liberty and perseverance, are not being hearers who forget. Verse 25, but doers who act, they will be blessed for their doing. What a person does, not their actions, is the difference. Does the way you live your life match your dating profile? have dating profiles? Good. Do you preach tolerance and practice intolerance? Do you say you want to be a good boss, and then you're a tyrant? They're mutually exclusive. Are all people created equal? Yes. Do we enforce equality? Or are we hypocrites? Do we turn an eye to suffering? Are we practicers of works of gentleness and grace? The Christian church is in decline in numbers. There are myriad reasons for this. But if you ask the nones, and that's what they're called, the people who are non-religious, are you affiliated? No, I'm a non-affiliated. They will tell you that the church preaches but doesn't practice. That when the hurricanes come, we lock our churches rather than open them for shelters. That we don't practice what we preach. And we need to do that so that we can be one with another and together. In a Peanuts cartoon, Lucy, you remember Lucy? She's the one who pushes herself to the front of the line. Lucy says to Charlie Brown, I hate everything. I hate everybody. Can you just see her doing that? I hate the whole world, says Lucy. And Charlie Brown says, but I thought you had inner peace. And Lucy replies, I do have inner peace, but I still have outer obnoxiousness. Charles Schultz calls us out for who we are, doesn't he? Because I live by grace, I am compelled to actions of grace. And those actions of grace are the way that we become the heart and hands of God. We are the heart and hands of God. Other people see us and they say, that person has inner peace. Look at how they live as the heart that loves people and the hands who show that love. Professor Sandra Heck-Pulaski says that if we are to follow James' directives, we would have two acts of grace. Be quick to listen and slow to anger. Verse 19 and 20 is where she gets that from. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, for your anger does not produce God's righteousness. Your anger does not produce God's righteousness. If we are the heart and hands of God in the world, we are slow to anger and quick to listen. Slow to anger. Slow to anger. I am fascinated that even today, all these years after the March on Washington, all these years after the calls of Martin Luther King Jr., that when people demand civil rights, we still get upset. As if something's being taken from us. When we are told that particular people's lives matter, do we get mad? Because then we think that our lives don't matter as much? I thought all people were created equal. All people are loved by God. So when that boils up inside of you, when somebody makes a declamation that they are somebody, and we find ourselves getting angry, we might want to check why we're being angry. Just ask, why does that make me angry? Why am I choosing to be angry about that? Am I following the edicts of James? Am I being slow to anger? Or am I being quick to anger because it just doesn't make any sense? Words cause pain. Words cause pain. One of the critters that has fascinated me most of my life is the Tasmanian devil. And it isn't the Looney Tunes That one's fascinating, yes. but the actual Tasmanian devils in Tasmania in the South Pacific. Tasmanian devils have this very, very rare cancer that is killing them off. It's called the devil facial tumor disease. Scientists discovered that this cancer begins in the mouth of a single Tasmanian devil and then spreads through the bites of that devil into those other devils. And Tasmanian devils bite each other around the mouth very frequently. It's just a behavior that they have. And this cancer spreads through those bites. And over many years, some 40% of the Tasmanian devil population has died because of this cancer from bites. Christians can tear each other down with unbridled tongues, and we would be wise to heed the warning of James and of Paul in Galatians. If, however, you bite and devour one another, take care that you are not consumed by one another. If we're bickering in the church, we're biting each other and giving each other the cancer of anger. And that gets me to one of my bugaboos, social media and anger. I was, back when I was the president of an organization, was sitting with another president of a college. And we would have lunch together frequently and just talk about what a trial life can be and what joy life can be, and then how our families are. And we would just care for one another. And this was when Twitter was just coming along. Twitter, do you tweet? Yeah, a lot of us do. I read tweets. And we both agreed that we would never tweet in our professional world. Do you know why? Because when I'm angry, the fastest thing I can do is send out a bunch of characters telling the world how wrong it is, or telling people what idiots they are, or not listening to what they say, but simply responding. Do you use your social media to lift up, or do you use it to tear down? Yeah, those jokes are funny, but by sharing them, are you building community? Before you post, learn by listening. Listen to the pain in what that person is sharing. And then become the heart and the hands, the thumbs of God. Tweet as though you're tweeting for God. I bet that changes it. So first is become slow to anger. If you're annoyed, check why. If you're angry, ask yourself, why does that bother me so much that my blood is boiling? And become the heart and hands of God. And then the other piece that James hands us is this: be quick to listen. I don't know about you, but I'm quick to speak, right? Somebody's at me, and all I'm doing is thinking about how I'm going to reply, how I'm going to take them from this wonderful person who's gloriously before me and revealing their heart and their mind and their bile to me, and I'm going to shrink them down to size and set them over where they belong. When what I should be doing is listening to the pain and the promise in that person's life. The pain and the promise in that person's life. If you are a person of value, then you have pain because you live in the world, and you have promise because you are of God. Jim Reepson shares a study about child prostitutes. And I got to tell you, I didn't listen so well when I first heard this story, because Jim Reepson wrote the words underage prostitutes. And I thought, that just can't be right. Is there an age where you're allowed to be a prostitute? How does that work? Do you see my anger got ahead of me there? I wasn't listening. So I changed the language and it became out better. I listened to the language better. Jim Reepson shares a study about child prostitutes in San Francisco. And in this study, these child prostitutes were asked, is there anything you needed most but couldn't get? When you were on the street, is there anything that you needed most that you couldn't get? And their response invariably preceded by sadness and by tears touched all of them. When asked what they needed that they couldn't get, they would respond, what I most needed was someone to listen to me. Someone who cared enough to listen to me. Listening. Quick. Listen. Listen carefully. Listen with your ears and your heart. Listen with your ears and your heart. Sometimes when I am having a hard time understanding what the person says, I actually push my ear closer to their mouth. I think it's a little intrusive for them, but it forces me to hear all the way inside of me. I stop listening with my eyes because there might be something that distracts me about them. And I start listening with my heart because there is love. I stop listening whether or not their grammar is correct. You ever do that? Stand in front of somebody and correct their grammar while they're talking? And I start listening to if their heart is correct. I open to them so that they and I can become one with God in that moment. Listen with your ears and your heart. That's what it is to quickly listen. So be slow to, come on now, be slow to anger and quick to listen. Be slow to anger and quick to listen. Because I live by grace, I am the heart and the hands of God. And that takes us to our purpose, as James lays it out. Verse 27, religion that is pure, religion, tough word in our world, yeah? So many people respond difficultly to that. So let's change it. Christian spirituality, I'm spiritual but not religious, say people, that is pure and undefiled before God is this. What are we supposed to do now that we're listening and slow to anger? Care for the orphans and widows in their distress. And the orphans and widows represents anybody who's in need, everybody who's in need. And keep yourself unstained by the world. Be slow to and quick to, and you will be the heart and hands of God. Thanks be to God. Will you please join with me in the singing of the Alleluias? May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God look upon you with kindness and give you peace. Amen.